Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros.
Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show Action Edition, where we feature feedback from you, our listeners. I'm here with my old buddy Larry. Larry, what's been going on this week?
Well, John, in the handyman business at Handyman Services by Service Group International. Oh, is that the local plug? Anyway.
Plug.
This episode brought to you by Handyman Services by Service Group International. If you're needing a handyman in North Atlanta, we're your choice. Anyway, sorry, that's the blatant plug for us, for you and I. Anyway, this week I actually did a quick drywall job for somebody, and it actually we got a question from the email bag at questions at Handyman Pros Radio Show. Corky sent us a note. He said he bought a bag of 20-minute drywall mud, and he wanted to know how to mix it. And John, you and I both use this stuff. Not exclusively, but we use it a lot when we're trying to do a fast repair because it dries quickly, and then we can sand it and we can get the job done pretty quickly. But there's that big but, right? And what's that but, John?
Well,
comes in a darn big bag.
It comes in a big bag, and it's dusty
and messy.
Okay, so if you're doing a drywall job and you need this type of material that's called hot mud or quickset or those kind of things, I don't really recommend it for topping, but it is it's a great product, but it's in a big bag, it's dusty. You open it up and you got to pour it in, and a lot of times you don't need a whole lot because if it's 20-minute 20-minute mud, then you can only make so much of it before it starts to get hard.
Right.
So what I have done, now as a handyman, we're kind of have to be a Swiss Army knife. I don't like to carry around a whole bunch of any one particular thing, but I carry around a lot of bunch of things. So
like a lot of little things, like
basically. A lot of little things. So I typically will run into a drywall repair that might be maybe a 4-inch or a 1 foot by 1 foot, or I might have to replace some drywall or stuff like that, and I will use this mud. So
because we do small jobs, right? These are what we would call small jobs.
Yeah, I'm not. Obviously, I'm not. We're not talking about hanging a lot of sheets of drywall and things like that at this point. But what I do is I actually will take some time and make up a bunch of sandwich bags full of this stuff, and I'll measure it out in these little containers, and it like 8 ounces of this stuff, not by weight but by volume in these containers.
So you take a measuring cup, right? Just like a regular measuring cup.
We take a measuring cup, something you find at a big box store, those plastic cups in the paint department
that you can throw away.
and I just put that mud in there, the powder, and it comes in a powder, and you put it in there, and I've kind of figured out to where I add 8 ounces of this in that cup, and then I pour it into a sandwich bag, and I make up about maybe 6 or 7 of these sandwich bags of this stuff, and now you can fold them over and jam them in different locations within in my boxes that I have in my car, my truck, and I figured out that I can put about 3 to 6 ounces, depending, of water in there and knead that bag up, and so it works that way.
So you actually knead the bag then? You just mix it right in the bag? Is that what you do?
I actually mix it. Yeah, I actually mix it in the bag, and I'll pour the water in the bag. I'll seal the bag back up, and then there's a little technique that I found. You kind of got to just be kind of careful with it, and just knead it so that it really gets distributed well and get all the lumps out of it. So, you take your time and get this thing going.
Just don't take 20 minutes.
Well, by the time it gets mixed, and then kick off. Yeah. So, but it'll kick off in 20 minutes. But, I turn the bag inside out, with my hand in there, and I just scrape off all that mud that I just did onto, a pan, that I'm going to work from. So now I don't have that stuff all over me for little jobs. It doesn't take very long to do this. I've got the mud available, and it works out great. Now, I was just doing a wallboard job where I actually used an actual mud pan, and I just took that 8 ounces of stuff and I just dumped it in there. There's hardly any dust. Add a little water. I wasn't working in a kitchen. I mixed it up right there. It just worked out tremendous, and it gave me, I think I calculated it was about maybe 7 to 10 square feet that I actually had to of mud by the time it.
By the time you
set
thinned it
up.
all out,
So,
and you thinned it out on the wall.
yeah, and I thinned it out, a little bit, but I had some pretty deep things to fill, and I had a repair and things like that. But it worked out. It worked out tremendously. Now, the advantage here is, on one hand, you don't have all the dust in a big bag, and I mean this stuff is heavy too.
Yeah,
So
it's not light. I hate carrying those bags. It's really a pain, and it's dusty. And if the bag tips over, you have a mess.
It's a mess.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. It really is. And so if the folks out there that just need to do these little repairs and things like that, it's great to have a little bag of this stuff. And so there's 2 ways that I use it. I can mix it right in that bag and really knead it all up on the outside. Stick my hand and turn the bag inside out basically, and it's not getting on my hand, and I scrape. If you can imagine, the bag now is inside out on my hand, and I'm just scraping off my hand all the mud that I just mixed up onto a hawk or a plate or whatever I'm going to work from, and it's just it's enough to get a decent sized repair done. You throw the bag away, everything, and you're done.
Perfect. What a great tip. So, folks, don't forget to join our Facebook group at Handyman Pros. Join in the conversation, and we'll give you all kinds of tips and tricks for things just like this, too. If you would like to get a hold of us, don't hesitate to send us an email at questions@handymanprosradioshow.com, and we will see you all next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this podcast and have derived some value from it, here's 4 things you can do. 1, tell your friends about this podcast. 2, hit subscribe on your podcast player. While you're there, leave us a review. 3, subscribe to our newsletter by going to handymanprosradioshow.com and click on the subscribe button. We'll inform you of upcoming events, shows, and give you actionable tips for maintaining your home and property. And 4, send us an email with your questions to questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. That's handymanprosradioshow.com. That's our show for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.